Today, the TV3 Sports Action Arena presents the 24 best high school wrestlers in New Jersey. It's the New Jersey High School Wrestling Championships from Jadwin Gymnasium on the campus of Princeton University. From all over the state of New Jersey, they came last Wednesday in the hopes of winning a state championship. But little by little, their numbers were cut down, and now only 24 remain. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Spahala, and welcome to Jadwin Gymnasium for the 1986 High School Wrestling Championships, the 24 best wrestlers in the state of New Jersey. Working with me, Jerry Saxel, and Jerry, we are going to see the best, and once again, we are seeing some repeat champions. 3 wrestlers are back who were state champions in 1985.
Yes, we are. Paul Boncher from Phillipsburg, who's going for his 3rd championship. Each year he comes in injured with problems, and people count him out, and each year he seems to be having his hand raised in the finals. We have Welch again coming in from Ridge, father his coach, a unique experience last year, having his father coach him to a championship. And we have Overly coming in from Warren Hills, whose uncle and father moved into a national championship caliber wrestling and New Jersey state champions. 3 outstanding individuals for us today in the finals.
In a way, we really don't have any surprise wrestlers in the finals. Not that a surprise wrestler could get that far, but really no major individual stories this year.
I think most of the coaches feel that 6 of the 12 wrestlers that are in the finals are boys that they expected to get there as far as weight classes are concerned. Maybe in 6 other weights there are surprises in the finals, but no individual that everyone is looking at one another saying, how did he get there? High caliber individuals, and I think when the audience hears the records of the people that we have in the finals today, they'll be amazed as much as we were at the totals that they'll see up on the screen.
Although it is an individual sport, teams will also be well represented. Ridge, Manalapan, and one other school, Clifton, has 2 wrestlers apiece, whereas Paulsboro has 3 wrestlers apiece in the final. Working with us on the sidelines, Al Reynoso, and Al will be handling the duties of interviewing the state champions as they come off the mat. And Al, we have some excellent wrestlers today, but tell us a little bit about that team concept. You would like to see your teammates win.
There's no question about it, Paul. There are fellows here who are rooting for their teammates. A lot of teams feel that they're the best in their area, and of course coming up with 1 or 2 champions is a measure of the fact of how good the team is and how far their individuals go. One of the things that I think you mentioned in one of our regional broadcasts was that it's a tremendous experience to come here, especially on Friday night when there are 8 mats, and see this outstanding wrestling going on. You just can't concentrate on 1 mat at a time because of the outstanding caliber of these wrestlers. And I'll tell you, I saw college coaches here that flew in from Iowa, all over the country, have come here to see this and to look for some of these outstanding athletes to attend their schools.
We will see many wrestlers who have perfect records, but we'll see some wrestlers with a mark like 34-1. Who beats these guys that gets to the state final?
Everyone asked that question, but there were some very interesting rematchups over the course of the tournament, and there have been some, I think, surprising results. There have been some avenges of losses, and there have been some wins that just supported the previous matchup that they had. So I think that when you look at a guy's record, a young man is 30-1, 28-1. Who beat these guys? Well, somebody beat them, and very often in the sport of wrestling, if you go far, you get a chance to avenge the loss, and that's one of the things that happened out here during the course of this tournament.
The interesting thing to see when we get to the finals of any particular weight class is family members, friends are cheering for a particular wrestler, but if it gets close down into the 3rd period, everybody takes sides for one reason or another. In a moment, we will be up at 102 pounds to crown our very first New Jersey state champion. We'll be back with our first match in a moment. Welcome back to Jadwin Gymnasium on the Princeton University campus. Paul Spahala, Jerry Saxel, and Al Reynoso on the call for the 1986 New Jersey High School State Wrestling Championships. 24 of the best wrestlers in the state of New Jersey, and as you can see, once again, the fans have come out to watch their friends, their relatives, someone they go to school with. They are all here to cheer on the wrestlers. And Jerry, as we said in the open, the funny thing is, even if you have no rooting interest, you take one if the match is close.
Paul, you noticed that in the semifinals, and it is very, very true. Very quiet for the first 4 minutes, people looking at the boys, and then whether it's because of looks, color of uniform, a school affiliation, a town that you drove through on your way here, all of a sudden, out of the 8,000 or 9,000 people that are here, the vast majority have chosen one of the two young men and begin to root somewhat vehemently for him, and you wonder where they've picked up that added support.
We will be alternating our officials for today's match. There is a crew of officials working today's matchup. And there you see Dan Mahoney, one of our officials, Jose Payne, Dick Matarani, Sam Rossi, Joe DeRillo, and Ernie Zuberer are the 6 officials who will operate in today's match. 102 pounds, our very first weight category, and it will be Steve Rivera of Manalapan and Jim Doran of Pennsville. Doran and Rivera.
And it is Rivera in the red. Young wrestler for his school. Junior. Improved dramatically during this year from a number of us as coaches that saw him during the Christmas holiday tournaments. Has come a long way, but he's in against the more experienced of the two, Mr. Duran, who has just achieved that takedown to take a 2-0 lead.
Doran with the 2-0 lead from Pennsville.
Soon to be added to. Doran putting Rivera onto his back. Taking it off the map, but not until 2 points have been awarded for a 4-0 lead.
Steve Rivera defeated Jim Yee from Dayton Regional in the TV3 area by a 10-1 score. That was in this morning's semifinals. Manalapan has 2 wrestlers in the finals today. Steve Rivera, who you're watching right now. And at 159, Bob Lynch will be wrestling. 4-0 lead for Doran.
And with nice control. Keeping the arm locked. Picking up 3 back points, and rather than losing Rivera, staying behind him to move the lead out to 7-0.
Three seconds left in the first period. And our first period will end with a 7-0 advantage for Jim Doran. Throughout the day on our scoreboards,
you see the nice control by Doran of Pennsville, balancing off. Tight waist with the left arm around Rivera's midsection, keeping his left arm locked, sinking his own hips to pick up 3 back points to move that score from 4-0 to 7-0. Doran taking the back roll, starting with the Peterson and coming through, looking to move behind. 4-2 and a 9-0 score. Rivera holding on to the leg, not allowing his opponent to move behind.
Doran defeated Drew Black in the opening in the semifinals, 3-2.
Black did come on to take the third place in this weight class, Paul, and that 3-2 score might have been Jim Doran's most difficult match, certainly of the championship. Doran comes in with a perfect record of 29 wins and no losses, as opposed to Rivera's 28 wins and 3 losses. Rivera now, though, staying with his opponent, not allowing him to build on that 7-0 score, being aware of the technical fall somewhere down the line, not wanting that to occur.
First weight class of the 1986 finals. Wrestling in the red right now in control is Steve Rivera. He trails Jim Doran 7-0.
Rivera gaining more confidence as the match goes on. Not afraid to move out to the side, a good tight waist. Attempting to throw the half Nelson now, knowing that he must put his opponent onto the back to get back into this match. Doran needing to move on the bottom as Rivera builds that confidence.
So the 7-0 score at the end of one stays the same in the second period. Doran from Pennsville, just a sophomore, leading over Steve Rivera of Manalapan. The red and green marks that we'll be showing you on our scoreboards throughout the day correspond to the anklets that each wrestler is wearing. Rivera in the red, and for this particular bout, Doran in the green.
Caution on Rivera on the bottom for moving.
Interesting point in the match when you have a fellow like Doran wrestling well, somewhat comfortable lead, and as a sophomore he's probably out there on the mats just thinking to himself, hey, in another 2 minutes I'm the state champion.
And also being aware that as good a wrestler as he is at 102 pounds, should he grow between now and next year, there are wrestlers in that 109 and 116 pound weight class that will be back, much more difficult for him. And as we've commented before, maybe the only time you get that championship is as the underclassman at this first weight.
Doran holding on tight. Rivera tries to sneak out.
Nice movement by Doran. Could have given up the points there. Not only didn't give them up, but has thrown a good power half in, attempting to work Rivera to his back, which he has done and has gotten a count. And if he sits through and brings those shoulders down, we could have our first fall of the championships. Rivera keeping the left shoulder up. Excellent camera angle and rolls through.
3 back points for Doran, 1 escape for Rivera. .23 seconds remaining.
A very well-deserved championship.
2 more on the reversal for Doran. And again, he almost had some points there. Rivera rolled through. Reversal for Rivera, but much too late. Jim Doran from Pennsville, just a sophomore, has captured the 102-pound crown in the 1986 New Jersey Wrestling Championship. And the sophomore has set some pretty tough goals for himself for the next 2 seasons. Everyone will be shooting for him, but at that point, you really don't care. You are a state champion.
With a record of 30 wins and no losses.
The 109-pound bout should feature one of the most exciting wrestlers in the state of New Jersey, and that will be Dave Boncher of Phillipsburg. Boncher, a senior, and he will be taking on Adam Derengowski from Paul VI in Haddonfield. So we have wrestlers from two teams that were district champions. Phillipsburg, the District 16 champ. Paul VI of Haddonfield was a champion in District 28.
Dave Boncher coming in with a record of 18-0, defending champion. Derengowski with a record of 29 wins and 1 loss. Boncher having missed part of the early season with a knee injury, therefore the 18-0 record. As Boncher making the offensive move, no call made yet, attempting to step across. Good action by both wrestlers on the edge. And it is 2 points by Derengowski, circling behind to take the 2-0 lead over the state champion.
And although it may not seem fair, but when you're from Phillipsburg, Paulsboro, Brick Memorial, some other schools that are traditionally strong, people root against you, and those are the people we talked about earlier who really have no rooting interest here at 109, but they just see Phillipsburg or Paulsboro and they say, let's go for the other fellow who's probably the underdog.
Very much so, Paul. It's a tough thing to come in as the state champion. Everyone that is not affiliated with your school or who appreciates good wrestling does tend to root for the other individual. Certainly the personalities of the boys are not considered at all.
Derengowski still in control of Boncher. Derengowski defeated George Chu of Cumberland in a very close match, 7-6 in the semifinals. Boncher, on the other hand, had relatively no problem in pinning Brett Denova.
And there's Derengowski working very hard for his tilt points, using his left leg well, controlling the lower body of Boncher.
Derengowski in control, although Boncher is slipping out.
Boncher attempting to roll through. Derengowski doing a nice job of keeping the arm locked above his head, stretching his opponent out, and will end that period with the lead.
End of 1, and Derengowski from Paul VI leads 2-0. Two seniors wrestling here at 109. So, as we spoke about Jim Doran, there will at least be an open door up at 109 at first and second place.
Derengowski moving nicely on top, keeping his opponent off balance on the bottom.
Stalling on Boncher. His first warning. Boncher with a pin in the semis. Actually, quite a few pins in the semifinals this morning. I think 2 technical falls and a default. So we saw quite a bit happen this morning.
Boncher with the stronger build of the two wrestlers, but it is now Adam Derengowski in control, using the legs well, as we've said, working the upper body, attempting to tilt his opponent, very close a few times to taking a 4-0 lead from the 2-0 that he now has halfway through the second championship of the day.
For those who are not familiar with how the wrestling is done in the state tournament, suffice it to say that the wrestlers wrestled last night. Those that won advanced to the semifinals, which were held this morning at Princeton at approximately 10 o'clock till noon. Consolation round was wrestled from about 1:30 to 2:30, and here in the later part of the afternoon we are wrestling the championship round. So the wrestlers you are seeing right now have had to wrestle 2 bouts this day. Stalling on Boncher, 1 point for Derengowski.
And it was George Chu of Cumberland Regional that took the 3rd place in this weight class, and that was the individual that Adam Derengowski had a most difficult match with in the semis, winning 7-6, scoring 2 points literally on the buzzer at the end to place himself in a position for a possible championship. What we've seen with Boncher through the years is Boncher coming back in the last 2 minutes of matches and winning bouts that we didn't think he could. The question is, with 2 minutes to wrestle and being down 3-0 going into the last period, will he be able to pull it out again this year?
3 seconds left. Derengowski showed a lot of strength on Boncher's last attempted rollover in that he held his position and did not give up the points. Always maintained control. There's a good example of some of the fine records we'll be seeing this year. 29-1 for Derengowski. Boncher 18-0. And as we said in the open, who beats these guys who come in at 29-1?
Many of their losses are up a weight class or 2. They've moved up to help the team. They've lost to an outstanding wrestler somewhere down the line. Maybe they've slammed somebody. Maybe somebody was hurt with an illegal hold. Some of those losses may not have been earned against them. They may have been given away.
Derengowski is slipping out a real big point here if he can get it. And they're off the mat. Derengowski almost got, at this point, a real big 4th point.
He's in the position that he wants to be here. He's the one that's down. If he can come up and make it 4-0 or make the score 5-0, the championship would be his if he didn't make a mistake. You see him staying tough on the bottom, constantly moving, not about ready to be hit for a stalling point against him.
Phillipsburg fans, and there are many here across the way, they want a stalling called. Especially since their wrestler has been hit twice.
Correct, and I think if we don't see Derengowski move, of course he has. He's come out for his point.
1 minute left.
And it's Derengowski that appeared to be the aggressor there, trying a little throw by, wanted to circle behind. What he has to watch is his own back now. He's thrown a leg. He has Boncher in trouble, but Boncher can still come up across the body for 2. What Derengowski can't do is go to his back here. It's still neutral, no points awarded.
Boncher escapes. 30 seconds left, cuts the lead in half.
And an intelligent job of wrestling by Derengowski. He gave the 2 points before. What he didn't need to do is to be taken to his back.
Derengowski forces the action out of bounds. 16 seconds remaining. And this is the point we talked about. Everyone's taking sides now for the final 16 seconds.
It's Boncher that has to take the chance. He has to roll to his own back and try and tilt. He has to throw a cradle on. He can't just ride here. He has to lose 6-2 or tilt as he's just done to send the match into overtime.
2 points for Boncher. With about 5 seconds remaining, Dave Boncher, 4 points in a row, and he has sent this match into overtime.
And whether he wins or not, Paul, it's what I commented on 2 minutes ago. There's something about a champion that doesn't allow him to quit, even with a few seconds to go. It's Boncher pulling himself onto his own back, but by so doing, exposes Derengowski's shoulders, and Derengowski is lucky that it wasn't for a 5 count, or he would have lost the championship in regulation by a 5-4 score.
4-4 at the end of regulation will clear the board and make it a scoreless match. And Whether it is 1-0 or 10-0, that is what our final score will be in overtime, or a pin. We had a pin in the consolations this morning in overtime. Pretty much everyone wrestles as if it were a regular match, the only real difference being 1-minute periods instead of 3 2-minute periods.
The boys are now finishing up their minute of rest between the regulation match and the overtime. Hopefully the winner will be decided on the scoreboard, not by a set of criteria. In case it should end in a tie, there is a list of areas that we would follow in order to decide the winner, but let's hope it's on the scoreboard and not on our score sheet.
And pretty much there is one criteria for every person here at Jadwin Gym. That's how long the list is. First overtime period.
It's Derengowski that makes the snap, but he snaps Boncher into his legs. It's Derengowski throwing the crossface, going into the crotch. Needs to move hip to hip. Has to hook a leg. Boncher holding on to the leg. Going to be difficult to hold on because Derengowski has planted his hand on the mat, as you can see. Good camera angle there. Makes it easier for him to circle behind. The question is, will a stalemate be called before he can score the 2 points?
15 seconds.
It's not Boncher close to scoring now. It's Derengowski. And again, if he pops that leg one more time and does high leg over and moves behind, but Boncher still holding, still holding.
End of the period. Boncher held on. There was his example of strength wrestling.
Rick Thompson, Phillipsburg coach. He's been there before and more than once in the finals of the New Jersey Championships. He knows what it's all about, and obviously the last few years he's been able to get that feeling across to Mr. Boncher. Injury time being taken. Wrist for Dave Boncher.
Left wrist injured for Boncher. It was his left knee that kept him out of most wrestling earlier this year. We've mentioned that the consolation was wrestled prior to the championship. Here are the consolation winners, or the third place finishers, as you will, in the particular classes. 102, Drew Black from Mahwah, George Chu from Cumberland at 109, Tim Hennessy of Jefferson at 16, Gume Gonzalez of Delsey at 123, Todd Young of Haddon Township at 30. At 136, Steve Pagliucci of Highland. We'll finish that list when we get a chance. But right now it's back to wrestling at 109. Second overtime about to start between Dave Boncher from Phillipsburg and Adam Derengowski from Haddonfield's Paul VI High School.
Derengowski in the offensive position on top, and it's Derengowski throwing a half and coming very close to picking up 2 points. And here's his tilt, and he does get the 2. This is where he was at his best in the regulation match in that second period, when he was on top, riding with total control. It has not seemed to slow him up at all.
Now the points go up on the board for Derengowski. 2-0 lead, 30 seconds left in the second period.
Derengowski with his left leg out at a rather difficult angle, but locks up on upper body and has gotten another count.
Three back points for Derengowski. Second overtime comes to a close. A 5-point period for Adam Derengowski.
You see the adrenaline pumping now. You see him bouncing around on a mat. He feels that the championship should certainly be his now. He felt that way 6 or 7 minutes ago and gave it up with a few seconds to wrestle, but that was a 2-point difference. Now it's a 5-point difference.
Now Boncher, the state champion, will just have to show if he's got what he had last year, the ability to pull it out in the last period.
Derengowski is not too concerned about not coming out of that bottom. Attempting to step across right now. Going to come up high. Has the arm locked of Voncher and comes out into the front position for a neutral. Gowski shot the double. Voncher spread him out and circled behind for the takedown to make it 6-2, but just 15 seconds left for our second championship.
Stalling on the bottom, but that's only the first against Derengowski. 3 seconds remaining. And Adam Derengowski has pulled off the first big upset of the 1986 State Wrestling Tournament by defeating Dave Boncher in overtime by a final score of 6-2. Adam Derengowski, a senior from Paul VI of Haddonfield, the 109-pound New Jersey State Wrestling Champion. And there you can see him, a happy young man, surrounded by his friends from Paul VI. So 2 champions have been nominated so far in the 1986 New Jersey Wrestling Tournament. A gentleman who for years brought many good wrestlers here, and he is still one of the youngest members of the wrestling set, is Herb Farrell, formerly coaching at Cranford. He is right now with Al Reynoso.
We're here with Herb Farrell, and Herb, I want to take this opportunity on behalf of TV3 to congratulate you on your accomplishment, being named the winner of the Harry Lake Award. I also want to share with millions of people the fact that I know that 50 years ago today, Harry Lake himself presented you with the state championship for the first time. How did it feel then, Herb?
It was a great thrill to win a state championship as a freshman.
And let me ask you this, Herb. I know that you were the only coach that Cranford had until the present coach, Chuck Ferrara, took over. And do you think that you left a real legacy for Cranford and Coach Chuck Ferrara, and has it continued for you?
I sure hope so, and he's done a fine job continuing it.
I know this, Herb. As a kid, I used to see you wrestle at the Elizabeth YMCA, and I always wanted to ask this question to a man of your stature. And the question is this: do you think that these wrestlers today are as tough as the ones that you wrestled with back then?
I may be a little biased, but I don't think so.
Well, how do you like that? He thinks that the old guys were much tougher. Well, Herb, congratulations again, and thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you very much, Al.
Okay, back to you, Paul and Jerry.
Thank you, Al. Al Reynoso with Herb Farrell, and you can always see Herb at Cranford matches and at other big matches throughout the state of New Jersey. Right now, since we have a moment while the 102 award medals are being given out, we'll finish up our list of the consolation winners. Those wrestlers that finished in third place will move up to 142, where Joe Malba from Hunterdon Central was the third place winner. Neil Wright of Fairlawn at 149. Pat Caruso, the only wrestler from the TV3 area to finish third at 159. Harold Rogers from St. James in Carneys Point, New Jersey. He, the first St. James wrestler ever to make it to the state tournament. 189, Mike Waltz of Paul VI in Haddonfield, so a double celebration for Paul VI. And the heavyweight third place finisher was John Kendall of Hanover Park, whom we saw last week in the Region 3 wrestling. We'll move up now to 116 pounds, where we will see the only TV3 area wrestler still involved, Chris DeGrazia of Seton Hall Prep. He is taking on Sam Cole of Long Branch.
Paul, in the first 2 weight classes, the person who's been crowned champion is the person coming off the toughest semifinal bout. Jim Doran with the 3-2 win, winning easily in the finals, and Adam Derengowski coming off that close 7-6 win, winning in the finals. Hard to pick here. Sam Cole has come off 2 very difficult matches, a 6-5 match and a 6-4 match. Chris DeGrazia, a 5-2 and a 1-0 victory in overtime today, so tying up the match right on the buzzer. So both boys have come in from difficult bouts, and it will be interesting to see who emerges as the winner here. Chris DeGrazia came in as the second-seeded wrestler in this weight class. Sam Cole only a sophomore at this point. An advantage to the senior on experience. But again, Cole wrestled very well through the earlier rounds of the tournament.
5 TV3 area wrestlers competed in the semifinals of the state tournament. You are watching Chris DeGrazia right now. We talked about Pat Caruso, who finished third. Frank Genova of Cranford, Jimmy Yee of Dayton, and Bart Lockwood of Caldwell all finished fourth in the state championship. So 5 TV3 area wrestlers in the semifinals at Princeton. Cole, another in a long line of excellent Long Branch wrestlers. Of course, the Scove brothers made Long Branch wrestling famous. And they still are on the Division I level.
The prep with their state champions in the past. 2 very fine schools represented out there with their wrestling programs.
Scoreless first period. Sam Cole defeated Kip Wingate of Hunterdon Central, and then Wingate was not able to wrestle in the consolation bracket because of a very bad bruise over his right eye, which had been sustained earlier in the tournament but was aggravated in the semifinal matchup, so Wingate never even wrestled in the consolation bracket.
DeGrazia in the defensive position on bottom, looking to score his points to take the lead. Cole looking to put his opponent onto his back to take the lead for himself. Cole riding a little high, but a good tight waist. Back arched nicely over DeGrazia, knowing where he was on the edge and when he was in trouble, moving his opponent out of bounds.
DeGrazia with only 2 losses and a tie against his mark this year.
DeGrazia coming up easily, throwing his opponent off his body, but Cole holding on to the leg. Not in a good position, but if he holds on long enough, he's going to get a stalemate out of it. DeGrazia knows it, working on the ankle of Cole, hoping to crossface and circle, but it's going to end up a stalemate.
A big day for Seton Hall Prep, the school in West Orange. Not only do they have a wrestler here in the final, but their basketball team is taking on Christian Brothers Academy for the Parochial A Championship this evening.
You just saw Rich McSorley, the assistant at Seton Hall, ex-head coach, who turned out outstanding team, sitting next to Al Calcagno. And we saw a high bridge on the part of Chris DeGrazia, and 2 points awarded to Cole for a near fall. Some of the crowd agreeing, some disagreeing, as we've had all day long and will continue to have. But it's Cole with the 2-0 lead. Here we see the back of an official, and now we see DeGrazia pushing himself through. High bridge, rolls on it again, blocked out a little bit. Was when he rolled back that second time that the 2 points were awarded. Not on the first high bridge, but when he decided to come back, he was lower, closer to the mat, and the 2 points to Cole.
Warning, I believe it was to DeGrazia. Just to the right of Coach McSorley, Al Calcagno, the head coach of the Prep.
DeGrazia attempting the forward rolls. Cole stopped him on 3 occasions, and on 1 occasion turned it into points. And as a result, DeGrazia has to be aware of that same move again.
There's Al Calcagno watching intently. Chris DeGrazia on the mat, trailing 2-0. 15 seconds left in the second period.
Grezia up to the feet. Puts the whizzer in. Cole staying with him. Locks on the leg. He only has to lock for a few seconds.
End of 2. Sam Cole of Long Branch leading.
It's Cole with his Peterson roll. He has it for 2. He has it for more. And unless he wrestles extremely poorly in the next minute and 46 seconds, may have sewn up his championship in the 116-pound division with that lovely 4-point move.
Cole, a sophomore, could become our second sophomore to win a crown. Dangerous move.
Chicken wing put in by Chris DeGrezia. Just kind of fell into it, put a great deal of pressure on it. Could have been a point against him, but a good call by the official in a match important as this to make it potentially dangerous. It's Cole making the first move on top, getting the jump on DeGrezia on the bottom, and it's Chris DeGrezia who has to make the first move if he's going to get himself back into this championship bout. Again, that same chicken wing. Put on by Mr. Cole this time, potentially dangerous. Sam Cole, a record of 31 wins and 2 losses. Chris DeGrezia, 20 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie. Again, injured at the beginning of the year, out for some of the matches, and it's Cole. Rather than fighting hard and getting himself into trouble, it's Cole giving the neutral, making the score 6-1 with less than a minute to wrestle.
Off the mat, 6-1 lead for Cole. The sophomore from Long Branch looking to pick up a state championship at 116.
DeGrezia throwing his opponent by, circling behind, getting his takedown.
Less than 30.
DeGrezia has been here before on Friday night, trailing 2-0 with 10 seconds to go, winning by a score of 5-2, losing today, tying it up, winning it in overtime. But Cole, a superior wrestler to the last 2 men he wrestled, so superior that he walks away with the state championship.
7-3 the final score. Sam Cole of Long Branch becomes our second sophomore to win a state championship. Cole from Long Branch, a 7-3 win over Chris DeGrezia of Seton Hall Prep. As I just mentioned, Sam Cole becomes our second sophomore to win a state championship. Our first was Jim Doran of Pennsville. And right now, Jim Doran will join Al Reynoso for a short interview. Al?
Jimmy, congratulations. You're only a sophomore. Did it feel any different for you? Did you feel the pressure going out there in the finals of the state championship as a sophomore?
Nah, it was not really, because I thought I had as good a chance as all the other people, you know, and it wasn't like really, I just went out to wrestle my best, and I thought I had a good as chance as all the other guys, you know. I mean, just because they're older and stuff, you know. I thought I'd have a good chance because I had a good season, you know, through the season. I felt good, so, you know, I thought I could do it. I thought I had a real good chance, you know, as good as everybody else.
Okay, congratulations and good luck next year. Back to you, Paul and Jerry.
In a moment, we'll return with the 123-pound bout, but for right now, we'll take a short pause, and then we'll be back to Jadwin Gymnasium.
Orange shooting from the outside, and as you said, you don't get back in a lot of games that way. And the tempo appears to favor East Orange. Both teams like to run, but it does appear that East Orange is the faster of the two teams.
Well, East Orange has gotten a lot of break baskets. I really don't recall too many baskets, except that last solo jaunt down the floor by Sean Jones that Orange has been able to put together.
Well, East Orange coming out of the locker room, taking their positions on the court. Orange will join them. 11-point deficit for the Tornadoes. We'll see whether or not they can make it up when we come back to begin the third quarter. Stay with us.
There you see the crowd at Jadwin Gymnasium here at Princeton, looking on, cheering on their favorite wrestler, hoping that he wins a state championship. Again, a good crowd. Medals being given out for the 109-pound championship on the mat right now. That winner, Adam Derengowski of Paul VI of Haddonfield. We will move up now to 123 pounds, where we will see John Fagan of Middletown South taking on Darren Schulman of East Brunswick High School. Fagan a junior, Schulman a senior. There you see Schulman in the near corner from East Brunswick High School. Defeated Gumi Gonzalez, who eventually wound up third. Gonzalez from Delsey, and Schulman won that one by 5 points, 13-8. On the other side, John Fagan of Middletown South defeated Don Piero, whose dad, I believe, used to coach at North Hunterdon, defeated Piero 10-6. Fagan in the blue, Schulman in the green.
Schulman, smooth wrestler, not extremely physical. Fagan, not so smooth and extremely physical. Schulman with the shot, and the sprawl by Fagan. It's Schulman coming up behind with the smoothness we talked about for a 2-point lead. It's Fagan's strength throwing him off, getting a neutral. 2-1. Schulman right back in again on a little duck under. 4-1 lead. Fagan with a switch. No step over by Schulman. 4-3. A great deal of action, and we haven't had a minute go by in the first period yet.
Schulman leading 4-3. We're at 123 pounds. 3 weight classes are finished, 9 to go here in the state championships. Paul Spahala, Jerry Saxel, and Al Reynoso on the call. And we hope you have enjoyed our coverage of wrestling throughout the winter sports season.
Fagan attempting a tilt. Schulman sitting short, almost getting one. Fagan staying with him. 27 wins, 1 loss for Fagan. 30 wins, no losses for Schulman. Our best weight class of the first 4, 57 victories and just 1 loss. And it's again a point neutral. 5-3. Schulman going in for the takedown. Fagan fighting it off. Schulman getting it. 7-3. Fagan with that strength we talked about, doing a little roll, forcing himself back into the opponent. 12 points scored, and we're still in the first period. 7-5 in favor of Darren Schulman, who reverses to take a 9-5 lead. Schulman with the tilt for 3 points on the buzzer to move ahead by a score of 12-5 at the end of just 2 minutes of wrestling.
Quite an exciting first period of wrestling. 12 points scored by Schulman, 5 for Fagan. And for those who have not joined us all year for wrestling, we should quickly point out the technical fall rule. Any lead of 15 points or more will automatically stop the match as soon as a particular move is completed. We're only about halfway there for Schulman, but with the way points are being scored, we thought we'd at least let our new viewers watch. Sometimes we only have viewers tune in just for the state championships, and if they are tuning in for the first time, we hope they see something they like in high school wrestling.
Fagan making a nice move. Schulman staying with it, not allowing him to score the points, maintaining the 12-5 lead.
Escape point for Fagan.
Schulman, who's had that ability to move in and then pop behind, as we see him doing here, to get the takedown rather easily. He's in on his double. He straightens Fagan up and then scoots alongside the hip for his takedown.
Fourth takedown of the match for Schulman.
Fagan used the switch on 3 occasions, once to get 2 points and 2 times to come out in front for 1 to score 4 of his points.
Two more for Schulman. 16-7 lead.
Schulman has to be aware of his own back. Camera angle excellent again. Giving up the move rather than get himself into more trouble than it was worth. 2-point reversal for Fagan, 1-point neutral for Schulman, and it's Fagan who says, I better go in and get some points on my feet. And he does. (17-11), and we're just in the second period.
So after our first 3 matches, which were relatively low scoring, 17-11 is the score in this particular bout, and it's similar somewhat to watching Cleveland State play UNLV in basketball. They're just rolling up the points. Fagan with only 1 loss this year, but he's on that borderline of his second. A warning against Schulman. Fagan actually cut Schulman's lead by 1 point in the second period.
Schulman with his 4th takedown. 19-11 Schulman. Fagan given a neutral by Schulman. 19-12. It's Fagan attempting to get his 2nd takedown.
No points.
Again, Schulman, who's moved in so nicely for his takedowns. In on the single, moves behind, works the pressure on the knee, throws the opponent in front and comes down with nice control. Wrestling the way a champion needs to wrestle in New Jersey to walk away with the medal. With 1 minute to go, he is still the aggressor, even with the lead, and he's moved in again.
21-12, Schulman leading. And with less than a minute to go, Schulman appears to be on his way to a state crown.
He'll take a touchdown and a field goal to bring Fagan back into this contest. And there's part of that field goal. He
there's
gets
a first down.
He gets the 2.
21-14.
It's certainly not a conservative match by the 2 young men, and they've given the crowd their money's worth. The first 3 bouts were good bouts, but nice moves, good movement here by both boys.
Fagan trying to move around. He is still in control. Not now. Schulman picks up a point. 12 seconds remaining. Schulman leads 22-14.
Fagan shoots, sprawls out. Not much energy left there anymore for the movement they've had over 6 minutes.
And a good hand from the fans, and I believe it is directed toward both wrestlers. Darren Schulman and John Fagan put on a good show for everyone involved. Darren Schulman of East Brunswick comes away as the 1986 state champion at 123 pounds, and a fine exhibition of wrestling, offensive wrestling, albeit for both wrestlers. The 109-pound champion was Adam Derengowski in what has to be considered a very big upset over former champion Dave Boncher of Phillipsburg. And that happened at 109 pounds, and in a moment Adam Derengowski will be joining Al Reynoso. Derengowski a winner by a 6-2 score in overtime, defeating Dave Boncher of Phillipsburg.
Okay. Here we are with Adam Derengowski. And Adam, you wrestled the 2-time state champ. You had wrestled him early in the season. What did you do different this time?
I just felt I went after him more, and I was more aggressive. And I knew I was in better shape, so I just kept pushing him, and I started to gas.
He pinned you with a cradle last time, and it looked like you were making sure you had your head up through the entire match, so he couldn't do that. Is that what the strategy was?
Yeah, I planned to have hand control and lace throw him, so he couldn't put the cradle on me.
It worked out good for you.
Yeah, everything worked out. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: how long have you been wrestling, Adam?
Since my freshman year.
And last year in this tournament, you went out at the district level. Here you are, the champ. What did you do differently through the entire season?
Well, I worked hard all summer, trying to overcome the mental block, from losing in districts. I just worked hard with a teammate of mine, Pat Ahern, and he helped me a lot, and that's just what I accomplished what I wanted to do.
Great. Congratulations again, and good luck in college. Back to you, Jerry and Paul.
Moving up to 130 pounds, we will see Joe Hollywood of Deptford and Tony Williams, one of 2 wrestlers representing Ridge High School. Hollywood in the black and Williams in the white and green. Hosea Payne and Dan Mahoney are the referees for this particular bout. Williams, one of 2 Ridge wrestlers who we will see back-to-back. Williams at 130 and John Welch at 136.
Williams, the wrestler, coming off the tough semifinal. Joe Hollywood coming off a fairly easy one. Hollywood almost getting Tony Williams' head down on the mat. Most circling behind. No control, still both on their feet.
Hollywood had a good tournament last year. I don't believe he got into the finals, but showed some promise and obviously fulfilled it by returning this year.
And an easy name to remember, because we commented last year, Paul, that with a name like that, you have to be a pretty tough athlete in the sport. And it is Joe Hollywood doing the job as far as wrestling at 130 this year. 26 wins, 1 loss, 2 ties against Tony Williams, 34 wins and 2 losses.
It must not make things any easier. Probably take a lot of good-natured ribbing from friends. And Hollywood with a nice move there for a 2-0 lead. Not to say what enemies might say to you. Here's the move by Hollywood for his 2.
Edge of the mat, a little shrug. Throwing Williams to the side, Hollywood behind. Tony Williams looked like he felt he was near the edge of the mat and that Hollywood didn't have enough room to move behind him on that, but when he did, it's Hollywood that takes the lead, 2-0. Hollywood attempting to tilt. Hosea Payne signaling that right angles, no points.
Hollywood defeated Todd Young of Haddon Township in the semifinals in a fairly easy decision. Tony Williams, on the other hand, defeated Jim McCauley from Madison Central in overtime. So once again, we had a wrestler come in with a fairly easy win and another wrestler come in with a much more difficult win, at least on paper.
Hollywood staying behind, could be hit for stalling if he just holds, and there is the call on Hollywood. Can't just stand behind a man and hold him there. Must attempt to bring him to the mat. Good call by the official. Williams coming up. Hollywood losing control for a second. Williams popping behind. That was more Hollywood letting go of the arm than Williams making a good move. But no matter what, it becomes 2-2. Williams, second in the state last year, kept winning matches that he had no right to win. Question is, can he win the big one this year in the finals? The senior, no chance to return. Hollywood, the junior, an opportunity to win it this year and come back and defend his title.
Stalemate. 2-2 the score. 57 seconds left in the second period between Hollywood and Williams at 130 pounds.
Hollywood up to the feet, turning nicely, getting his neutral, taking the lead by 1. Hollywood locking up on top. Has a warning against him. Has to be aware of that. On the edge, Williams almost circles behind.
No points awarded. Still a 3-2 lead for Joe Hollywood.
Hollywood a full 3 or 4 inches shorter than Tony Williams. Call here, if it were a double stalling call, would hurt Hollywood, not hurt Williams.
End of 2 periods. Hollywood with choice for the start of the third.
Should take down. He has the lead. He wants to build on that lead, and he can do that by coming out from the bottom. He would like to come for 2 and ride as he did in the first period after the takedown rather than be on his feet for fear of a takedown. Williams a leg in. Hollywood standing, potentially dangerous. Williams, nice job of bringing his opponent down to the mat, not letting him get off.
Early action, third period. Joe Hollywood of Deptford leading Tony Williams of Ridge 3-2. Ridge, the District 18 team champion.
Hollywood up. Williams attempting to get him onto the back using legs. Hollywood has to scissor hard so that he can't be brought to the shoulders, and he does so. Williams using the legs, but he has to put the opponent over with those legs. Hollywood has to move on the bottom. He has the lead. The officials are aware of it, and if he just sits there, they're going to call him for stalling on the bottom.
And he already has one warning. The next would bring a point and tie this match up.
Hollywood is not attempting to come out of the bottom now. He is attempting to stop from being turned.
Joe Hollywood with the lead, but Tony Williams is applying the pressure.
Hollywood helps his cause by coming up to his feet. It's Williams with the overlock on the head. If he can pop backwards, he can bring Hollywood to his back. Hollywood fighting it off.
Less than 30 seconds.
Williams in overtime in the semis. 7-7, 3-2 overtime. It's time running out and no call being made, and there is the call that probably should have come sooner. It's a 3-3 match, and it's another overtime for Tony Williams.
React, and you get the sense that they did not appreciate the call against Joe Hollywood.
Good call. Hollywood was not attempting to escape. He was attempting to move and not go on to his back. Williams working for the fall. The bottom man bracing. Both arms out on the mat. Knees spread. Call being made by Jose Payne. If it's made 36 seconds earlier, no boos. When it is made in the last 5 seconds, you get yourself into a little bit of a problem with the fans. That's a call that I think should have been made a little bit earlier, Paul. And it might have helped Joe Hollywood. Had it been made with 30 seconds, if it was 3-3 at that point, then Hollywood might have come out for a 4-3 victory. That may turn around to haunt Hollywood even more than it appears at this point.
Warnings are not carried over into the overtime period. So Hollywood starts with a fresh slate, as it were, although warnings and stallings do come into play should they be tied at the end of the overtime. Three 1-minute overtimes to determine the 130-pound state champion. We've already gone into overtime once. That was at 109 when Adam Derengowski defeated Dave Boncher.
It's the state champion losing in overtime in our first one today. The question is, how will the runner-up of a year ago do in the overtime in this particular bout? It's Hollywood applying the pressure, forcing the head down of Williams. It's what he did in the first period in regulation, and he was able to circle behind for two. But it's Williams who throws him by, but it's Hollywood who hits the switch, and no points have been awarded, and yes, 2 points are awarded Hollywood as the buzzer goes, and again, it's Hollywood taking the 2-0 lead into the second period. Hollywood makes the first move. It's Williams that shucks the head, comes behind. Hollywood is up though, so points can't be awarded. Hollywood hits the switch, comes behind. Hands are locked. The knee is still down for Williams. The 2 points are awarded. 2-0 lead. The officials are going to confer. One official is going to say that the man's knees were off the mat and the point shouldn't have been awarded. The other is going to say, I think the knees were down. I think it should be 2-0.
Jose Payne on the left, Dan Mahoney on the right.
And the most important man coming in, Sam Crosby, because Sam Crosby is going to make the decision. Each official had a different view, and it's Sam Crosby who says no points. The score is 0-0. Sam Crosby, head of the officials. The power to come in when there is a problem and a disagreement between the two men on the mat, and it is his vote that breaks the tie.
Referee sending both wrestlers to their corners to be toweled off. Here's that move one more time.
Williams with the head under the armpit of Hollywood. Hollywood tries to force him down. Williams pops that head out. There are no points now because there's no control by Williams. Here's Hollywood behind. Is it 2 here? Is that control? Was it control when the right knee of Williams was down? One official says yes, one says no. No score, second period. No question on that too. It's Hollywood behind and in control with a 2-0 lead.
Hollywood with an early move in the second overtime. And it seems the fans have somewhat sided with Joe Hollywood.
All those people that you talked about earlier that hadn't picked someone said, gee, there's a little kid out there that should be ahead 2-0. Now he's not anymore, so they end up going with him.
And they also see that 3 Ridge wrestlers made it to the semifinals, 2 made it to the final, so maybe they said, hey, let's cheer for this one lone wrestler from Deptford. Spartans of Deptford represented by Joe Hollywood, the Red Devils of Ridge by Tony Williams.
Williams attempting that roll, looking for the Peterson, hoping to get 2 and more before. 2-on-1, hooked on by Hollywood. He got warned here before, but this time he's attempting to bring his opponent to the mat. It's Williams fighting him off. It's not Hollywood just content to stay there. I question that call. Hollywood was trying hard to bring the man down. It was Williams moving very well. A warning against Hollywood and then a point neutral for Williams. It's 2-1.
With 1 second remaining, and Hollywood asked to come over to the bench to be toweled off. No injury time for either wrestler.
We have Williams on the feet here. It's Hollywood, 2-on-1, moving him forward. It's Williams cutting down nicely, getting that right arm down, facing his opponent, getting the neutral to make the score 2-1.
I believe there's some bleeding from the inside of the mouth of Joe Hollywood, so he asked for time and was given it, and the clock, of course, will not start for that. 1 second remaining. Hollywood leads 2-1. Not too much can happen from the standing position with 1 second. And now both wrestlers will get set for the third and final 1-minute period of overtime.
It's Williams down. Should Williams come out for 1 point and make it a 2-1 score, and it ends that way, the winner is going to be Joe Hollywood on the basis of his 2-point takedown. That was the importance of that takedown. Williams needs 1 and 2, or Williams needs to come out for 2 points and a reversal to take the lead 3-2. Hollywood has been hit. He can't afford to relax, and it's Williams coming up behind. Hollywood throwing the whizzer in, so he gives the 1, and it is 2-2. Hollywood has to stay out in the center of the mat. He's doing it. He's pushing Williams backward. It's Hollywood that's being the aggressor by leaning forward, but it's Williams that's setting up the move. He knows he needs the takedown. John Welch, the coach from Ridge, has his boys very, very well learned, as we say, as to what they have to do in a match. It's Williams looking for the duck under that he had before. It's Hollywood leaning in. Problem, if both boys get hit again, it becomes a 3-2 score in favor of Williams. Time running out, and a championship to Joe Holly on the basis of his takedown. The officials will confer to be sure.
Regulation ends at 2-2. First criteria, which was not involved, unsportsmanlike conduct. Tie remains. It goes to points awarded for near falls. Then it goes to number of takedowns. That is where we believe Joe Hollywood will be declared the 130 state champion. Yes, indeed. By virtue of a takedown, Joe Hollywood is the 130-pound state champion for New Jersey. Hollywood wrestled fine last year, did not make it into the finals. Came back with some determination and captured the 130-pound crown in 1986. The 116-pound champion, decided earlier today, is just another in a long line of successful Long Branch wrestlers. That was Sam Cole. He now joins Al Reynoso.
Sam, congratulations, winning the state championship. You wrestled the senior. What was your strategy going against them?
Well, first thing I wanted to do was beat him on the takedowns. And then on the bottom position, I felt I could get out. However, the strategy didn't go very well in the match because I didn't get a takedown at all. However, I did escape from the bottom, and I had back points.
And the back points were the measure of victory for you because you deferred in the second period, you got on the bottom in the third, and that's how it worked out for you. You know, wrestling at Long Branch has always been the Scove brothers. Did that mean anything to you?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to say that I think the Scove family is one of the best wrestling families in the nation, and I felt they gave me a tremendous incentive to win the state championship.
Well, that's great, Sam. And tell us a little bit about the program at Long Branch, the coaches, and how long have you been wrestling?
I've been wrestling 8 years, since 8 years old.
And how about the coaching staff over there and the whole program?
I think the coaches are tremendous, and without the support of my family and the coaches, I wouldn't have been here at all.
Well, okay, Sam, we also want to mention that you're the #1 ranked student in your class, and we want you to continue in your career, and congratulations, good luck. Okay, back to you, Paul and Jerry.
We move up to 136, where we will see Robert English of Dover and John Welch of Ridge High School being coached by John Welch from Ridge High School. And similar to what we had last year, Williams came out a Ridge wrestler and lost, and then John Welch, the coach, right away had to, and now we have an injury to the eye of John Welch. Clock will start for injury time. There you see the two Welches, John Jr. to the left, the wrestler, and his dad to the right. And here is how the injury occurred.
Both wrestlers on their feet. You see the left hand come up and catch that eye. Time being taken. Welch back on to the mat. Maximum of 2 minutes allowed for injury time. And it's English and Welch going at one another again. It's John Welch, probably the most accomplished wrestler, along with Mr. Oberly, of those in the finals today. Headgear loose. Welch coming in with the finest individual record of anyone in the finals, 35 wins, no losses. Robert English in 31 wins and 3 losses.
Must be difficult for John Welch, the coach, because obviously Tony Williams out on the mat earlier, and he was totally into that match. I have no doubt about that, but yet a part of him had to be saying, boy, I wish I could be with my son, just giving him a little more pep talk here right before another big match. And again, he had to go through that situation last year, and he does once again here in '86.
Again, with the Gary Durso, who he had last year, along with his own son, they're such fine wrestlers, Paul. You really are somewhat relaxed. You'll see John Welch possibly in this match give up some points. He knows when not to fight a move. He's willing to give some points up to get more. He never panics. He's a most difficult individual to wrestle. It doesn't matter how much you get yourself psychologically ready to go against him. He just is a superior wrestler to most of the young men in the United States, not just in New Jersey. He's one of the 3 or 4 people in the state, again, that the college coaches would love to have on their squad.
Scoreless first period.
Robert English, the surprise in the finals. If Robert English were to pull an upset here and win, it would probably be one of the greatest upsets that we've had in a number of years in the finals of New Jersey wrestling at the States.
Now English making a move.
Interesting exchange. Not particularly smooth wrestling, but neither boy willing to give up the points easily. Welch coming in, but running out of time.
Acrobatic exchange, but yet no points awarded for either wrestler. John Welch, 35-0 this year. There's his dad looking on. hoping for another state crown.
Robert English coming in, having defeated Steve Pagliucci of Highland, a person that many people thought would be in the finals. A very hard-fought 5-4 victory. Pagliucci winning easily in the consolations against the very fine wrestler Genova of Crawford. Excellent match. Genova taking the early lead, Pagliucci coming back. And so English has certainly gone through tough competition coming into this final.
English only 3 losses this season, and now injury clock starts for Robert English. His left knee appears to be bothering him, and that is what is being looked at right now. And being iced down. We are at 136 pounds. At the end of this bout, we will be halfway through the crowning of the 12 New Jersey state champions.
A number of underclassmen, somewhat surprising for the first weight classes, Paul, that we have the number returning already next year as champions.
Scoreless in the second period. We have already seen one former state champion, Dave Boncher. Another one is due up in Ben Oberly, and you are watching the third returning champion right now.
Again, we saw Dr. Fred Beekle, as we so often do, out on the mat taking care of any of our injured wrestlers that we have here at the tournament. Ex-state champion of Seton Hall, fine wrestler for the university, an individual that comes down each year, fits it into his plans to come down to treat any of the young men should they be injured.
And he mentions that it was just a bruise suffered by Robert English, no major damage, and obviously both wrestlers can continue.
It's English's loose style that seems to be throwing Welch at this point. Welch looking a little frustrated, moving in on English, seemingly set to score his 2 points, as we see here, in deep. This time moving in to a nice Navy ride. English fighting to come up, trying to get balance. Welch driving in, not content to get the 2. Welch throwing the half Nelson, coming with the forearm, putting English onto his back, getting the count of at least 3 to make it a 5-0 score.
Plenty of time, over 30 seconds.
This is what John Welch does so well, takes advantage of his opponent's errors.
3 minutes and 41 seconds is all that John Welch needed to defend his state championship. And trying to show a little composure, Father John Welch jumped up from his chair, and now the 2 embrace. State champion for the second time, John Welch from Ridge, and his dad couldn't be any more happier. Good move by Welch to capture English.
3-minute match, no score. Here's English's mistake. He keeps that left arm hooked around Welch's neck. He's attempting to fight the takedown when he should have given it up, been content to be down 2-0 and be in a match. But Welch not allowing that arm to come off easily, putting English onto his back, eventually getting the fall in 3:41 and doing a fine job in defending his championship.
Our 123-pound champion, Darren Schulman of East Brunswick, is now with Al Reynoso.
Darren Schulman, congratulations. It was an outstanding match for you, a big score. What did you do in your strategy against your opponent?
Well, I felt that I should attack him on my feet, which that's how I wrestled all year, and I figured that's what I should use in the finals today, and it worked. And I just went after him. I opened up. I did all my moves on my feet, and it worked out.
You know, a lot of people see you, and a lot of your opponents say you don't look that strong, but you certainly had enough horsepower to win the state championship. How do you feel about your strength?
Well, when I lift for strength and not for looks. A lot of guys, they lift and they get big muscles and stuff, but they really don't have that, the strength. Also, I work on my legs and my hip strength, which helps out on my feet, because on your feet, you're shooting and you're using your legs to push off and to lift, and also your hips to help, maybe throw a person or get the angle on the guy to get behind for a takedown.
Okay, did you have any difficulty making weight this year? Because I think you've come down from Well, let's say quite a few pounds. Was it hard for you, or did you do it real smoothly?
After last year's season, I got up pretty high after like 2 months, and then I dieted the whole summer, worked out hard, wrestled, and at the beginning of the year, I had to lose just a little bit of muscle weight. And as the season went on, my diet got better, and I peaked for the regions and the states with my weight, and I had an easy time after that.
Well, gee, that's a real good commentary on the kind of things you have to do in order to be a state champ. Congratulations again, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, back to you, Jerry and Paul.
Usually we get upset when people walk in front of our interviews, although we have to excuse the gentleman who did during that particular interview. That was Joe Hollywood of Deptford on the way to the mat to pick up his first place award. So we'll excuse Joe. We'll move up now to 142 pounds. Rick Savacool of Delaware Valley taking on Brian Wells of Pascack Hills. And Savacool, Jerry, brings to us probably the controversy of the finals. He was injured and advanced to the finals by a default.
Rick Savacool wrestled in the semifinals against Malba, Joe Malba of Hunterdon Central. At the start of the match, Malba slammed Savacool. There was no question to the fact that it was a slam. Savacool suffered a slight separation in the shoulder area, wasn't able to continue. And so Malba was relegated to going down to wrestling for third place, which he did, winning that particular championship. Savacool advanced into the finals against Brian Wells. There was a question as to whether Savacool would wrestle in the finals, whether Wells had won his championship this morning. It's Wells with the takedown, winning his championship on the scoreboard now 2-0. But I think we should be aware that if tremendous pressure were to be placed on Savacool's shoulder, I think Dr. Fred Beekle and the coach would be in agreement that the match would not continue. But a great deal of credit to Savacool for coming back. Luckily, that's the other shoulder, folks. It's not the shoulder that we saw slammed this morning. And the crowd is well aware after the call has been made as to what happened this morning, Paul. It couldn't have been timed better if we had rehearsed it.
Wells with the slam to the mat of Savacool. Now the right shoulder feels pretty much as the left shoulder did this morning. But because of that, a lot of people in the stands have taken against Rick Savacool.
All of the people with the Red Devil colors of Hunterdon Central especially. And what we don't want to see happen is an individual advance into the finals and win a championship by winning both the semifinal and the final bout on slams.
2-1 lead for Wells.
Wells hanging on to the leg. Stalling awarded against Wells, hanging on the leg, not moving. Savacool trying to come up. Wells putting a little bit of a carry in, keeping control. Wells, only a junior from Pascack Hills, comes in with a record of 31 wins and 2 losses. Savacool of Delaware Valley, a senior, 23 wins and 4 losses.
Dangerous hold.
And again, right or wrongly, I think the officials are aware of the injury from this morning. A move that was stopped a little bit earlier than it might normally have been stopped. That should not work against Mr. Wells. He has an opportunity of doing anything that is legal, and let's hope that that doesn't hurt him in this bout.
End of 1, and Wells leads over Rick Savacool, a winner by the forfeit that we spoke of over Joe Malba from Hunterdon Central. 23 wins, only 4 defeats for Rick Savacool, a senior, wrestling for the Delaware Valley Terriers.
Savacool throwing legs, working Wells to his back. He has him for a count, I believe. We have been blocked by the official. Yes. 2 points. Back points. Wells, though, coming up in between the legs of Savacool, equalizing the 2 back points to make it 4-3.
.125 left in the second period. Brian Wells defeated Jim Bacino of Ridge in a technical fall, 17-1.
Good Controlled by Wells on top. Keeping Savacool under him. Warning. Awarded against Savacool at this time so that they are evened up. Wells with a very tight move. If he comes left and throws the half, he's unable to do so. Savacool comes up to the feet. A neutral awarded. Five for Wells. It's Wells in on the single. Looking to bring his opponent back into the mat. Trips. Savacool brings him off the mat. Still both up.
Nice move on the trip by Wells. Had it been more towards the center of the mat, he probably would have had a better opportunity to pick up at least maybe some back points.
Some of you may see numbers occasionally off the mat in the background with the camera shots. Those are numbers that correspond with each wrestler in the tournament, and it's Mr. Gordy Knobs of New Providence and his crew of wrestlers from the New Providence squad that have helped facilitate the full championship with all the confusion of 8 mats going by keeping numbers out there so that when you don't recognize a wrestler, you can look at a number and then look at the program. And so we are most appreciative of Gordy Knobs and the crew. No, after the buzzer on the trip.
Score remains 5-4 for Wells. Here's that trip just near the buzzer.
Bores in, picks up, starts the trip here.
Buzzer.
2-1 buzzer, no control, head still caught underneath. 5-4 therefore, start of the third period.
Brian Wells, the Pascack Hills Cowboys, represented by the junior. He knocked out the third Ridge wrestler, Jim Bacino. Warning against Wells.
Savacool with the leg in, attempting to get the arm behind the head. Hoping to bring it over, hoping to go into a guillotine, hoping to get the opponent onto the back to get the 2 points he so sorely needs. Stalemate call. I believe the official just conferred with his assistant. Grillo conferring with Mr. Zuber, saying if that happens again, I'm going to consider calling stalling again, and Mr. Zuber agreeing. It's Wells, though, moving from the bottom, coming in on a barrel roll. Working hard for that. Switching now to a little bit of a carry, coming off the waist onto the leg. Locking on the leg, moving in from the single to the double, remembering the trip that he had at the end of the second period. Hoping to turn it into 2 points this period and maybe a championship. Savacool fighting hard, not giving it up. 1 point means he's still in the match. 3 means he might be out of it.
Stalemate called with 29 seconds remaining in regulation time in the bout. Fans reacting to Savacool stretching out his left shoulder. 5-4 lead for Wells. He's on the bottom.
Savacool has a cradle locked. He's moved to the proper side to sit. He's trying to force it. He needs to sit backwards, not over top. Wells too strong for that. Wells forces his way not only to the front, coming in on the leg. Wells in on the double position again. Savacool tries to throw, gives it up. Championship is going to be Mr. Wells's.
Brian Wells of Pascack Hills, a 7-4 victory. Gutty performance by Rick Savacool. 2 shoulders and a knee injured, but it was Brian Wells with a strong move right near the end of the third period to capture the 142-pound crown. 7-4 again, the final score. Brian Wells, the winner. The 130-pound champion, also in overtime. Decided earlier today was Joe Hollywood from Deptford. He is right now with Al Reynoso.
Here we are with Joe Hollywood, and Joe, congratulations. One of the obvious questions that everybody's asked is Joe Hollywood. What does the name Joe Hollywood mean to you? Do people call you Joe Hollywood without even know who you are, or how does it affect you?
I think a lot of people think it's my nickname, but it's not. It's really my name, and I'm just used to it when people call me Joe Hollywood. I bet you a lot of people think it's my nickname, but it ain't.
It's your real name, and everybody's going to know that from now on because you're the champ. Joe, you rely a great deal on your strength. Do you do a lot of strength building?
No, I don't really. I just do a lot of push-ups, sit-ups, but I didn't lift weights during the year or during the summer coming into the season. But I plan on doing a lot of lifting this summer and during the season.
You were tied at the end of overtime. Did you know you had won it on the takedown?
Yeah, I did, because I know the criteria rules.
Okay, congratulations to you, Joe, and have a good season next year. Hope to see you back again.
All right, thank you.
Back to you, Paul and Jerry.
His real name is Joe Hollywood, and he is a state champion. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in a moment.